Let's watch a CNN panel break down how Trump is rather openly planning to use the DOJ against his political enemies. Again, something he did in his first term, namely the January 6th committee this time around, because of course he is. And MAGA will tell you for him, it's actually okay now because the Democrats did it first, even though the Democrats never did it. And Trump, again, utilized the IRS to go after the likes of Comey, his AG to go after the likes of Hillary. And we'll get into more instances than just that. So it's clear this is just another confession hidden as an accusation from MAGA.
Should President Biden issue pardons for the January 6th committee members, including yourself?
No, I don't want it. Look, here's the
You
thing.
don't want it?
No, because the second a pardon is issued, and look, I understand the theory behind it, because Donald Trump has clearly said he's going to go after everybody. And it's not going to be for the January 6th investigation. What they'll do is they'll weaponize other investigations. They'll look into everything and start an investigation that'll end up coming to naught, force people to pay money. This happened to Brad Raffensperger in Georgia as he was forced to defend himself. But the second you take a pardon, it looks like you're guilty of something.
It happened to Raffensperger, to Michael Cohen. It happened to Andrew McCabe. It happened to Peter Strzok. It happened to John Kerry, Comey, Clinton, John Bolton, Omarosa Newton, Stephanie Wolkoff. These are people Trump deemed his rivals in his first administration that either spoke out against him or didn't do his bidding, like Comey, right? Who he then personally directed his DOJ to subject to investigations of different kinds, some through IRS about financials, some being cost tens of thousands of dollars through civil suits that were brought by the president and then dropped before he even made it to court. Some were put through lengthy investigations, but all cost them tens of thousands of dollars, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions for some of them, depending on who, just because they went against Trump. So again, Trump has this history of weaponizing the DOJ, and he's now saying he's going to come back and do it a step further, trying to prosecute his political enemies this time. So a purpose of a pardon clearly makes sense. But I do admire the courage of Kinzinger here to realize that there's nothing here. He's not going to get charged. He probably has insurance for his time being on the January 6th committee. So like it's going to be a fruitless and humiliating experience to Trump, but it still will likely cost somebody. I'm sure he won't have to foot the bill completely out of pocket, but it could be tens of thousands of dollars minimum, again, if not hundreds or millions.
I'm guilty of nothing besides bringing the truth to the American people and in the process embarrassing Donald Trump, because for 187 minutes he sat there and did absolutely nothing and showed how weak and scared he truly was. So no, I don't want it. And you know, the bottom line is, I mean, if he wants to bring up January 6th again, we've had all this talk about how we're moving on from January 6th, and trust me, Anderson, I would love to. Like, my life has been defined by this for 4 years, but if he wants to bring it back, I will be happily talking about everything the committee did and learned and re-embarrassed.
What some people may not realize is you're saying you don't want a pardon. Fighting whatever might come your way can cost you and your family, I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, you think about it, like, and this happened with Brad Raffensperger. People would just sue him. And so he'd have to defend himself. And he had to defend himself out of personal money. You know, I have insurance from my time in office, but still, you have to defend yourself, spend money. And then ultimately, DOJ or whatever says, yeah, we didn't find anything. But 3 years later, after you spend this, that's how they weaponize this.
Exactly, right? And then the MAGA base, because they don't actually follow politics or governmental actions, especially not outside of an election year, will never know that Trump did this, that he's weaponized the DOJ, that he's targeted political enemies because he didn't lock them up, even though he definitely tried to lock them up with Hillary multiple times. I mean, even though MAGA literally chanted for him to lock Hillary up, wasn't a problem then, is a problem when it's Trump, of course. And he was told there was no crime. That's the only reason Hillary wasn't locked up. And he can just now roll with that like he has and pretend it's the Democrats doing it when they haven't done even 10% of what Trump has done. Like, Trump has clear actions, has put public pressure on the DOJ to go after his political enemies, and actual political enemies of his have been subjected to lengthy civil suits, investigations that were all fruitless but cost them money. MAGA's like, nah, he doesn't want to weaponize the DOJ. Those were all they deserved it, right? But for Biden, we got to pull every fringe conspiracy, even though he's never commented on Trump's cases, never told his DOJ to go after Trump. And it's like, but Biden knows this guy who is now friends with the guy who knows a guy who is prosecuting Trump. So that's proof of a connection. He clearly sent him, and it's all just nonsensical. And it's also the exact reason for a Hunter pardon, right? MAGA is clearly obsessed here and would stop at nothing to cost him and his family hundreds of thousands thousands, if not millions of dollars defending themselves through more lengthy investigations when they've already frankly defamed, shunned, and slandered Hunter, from showing his privates and public congressional hearings and clips that went viral, or blasting his drug problems the same way, along with investigating him for the better part of 6 or 7 years and not finding a single thing. Literally, the only charge they could bring against him was a charge they don't even think should be a crime, that they've pushed to not even be a crime. So it's like fruitless. And I think it's fine to put an end to that nonsense.
It's also to smear people, and in a hyper-polarized environment, that can become dangerous. That's just a fact. When people's actions are misrepresented, when things are called treasonous that are very much in line with the law and congressional procedure. But to Adam's point, I have not heard anyone who outright say that they would like a pardon, because I don't think anyone believes they did anything wrong on the committee. But what stuns me is Donald Trump won. Yet you have Mike Johnson say they're going to investigate the committee. Donald Trump still talking about January 6th. The unwillingness to move on and take a beat from what was one of the darkest days in his first term and just be forward looking. There is so much this Congress could do that could be really good for the American people. It is not investigating Liz Cheney. That is a waste of time, taxpayer dollars, and it is not what people elected him to do.
It's also an attempt to change the subject, because part of the process of whitewashing January 6th and the events of that day is trying to make this not about that, but about the people who were looking into it, and turning pretty routine conduct of Congress people, yourself included, Adam, into something criminal is part of the plan that is designed to distract.
This is exactly right. And you'll notice the pattern with MAGA, that this is always the obfuscation they will take. And once you notice, it's hard to take them serious after that, because you realize that these people are just grifting off these talking points and don't actually really know what they're talking about. No matter what you present MAGA, from where, they will just try to attack the validity of the source. That is the pattern. If you send them something from mainstream media, it's instantly fake news and they won't even look at the numbers. It doesn't matter if it says 2 + 2 is 4. Not a credible source, can't be listened to. If you send them a study, it's, oh, this study's only 2 years or 5 years. If it's a long-term study, it's, well, this study leaves out this and this. If it has this and this, it's, well, the author is biased. If a Democrat points something out, it's can't trust a Democrat. And you see this with the January 6th committee, where it's just, oh, it's the January 6th committee. Nancy Pelosi was part of that. Can't trust it. Republicans were picked by Pelosi, even though, none of that's true. But these are obviously how they're going to attack the validity of the sources without providing any evidence to how the actual claim itself isn't valid. These are the most bad faith arbiters you could run into. They don't want to have a real discussion, and you're never going to change their mind because they're so stuck in their confirmation bubble of an echo chamber. They're unwilling to accept anything that's contradictory as real. I mean, here's a shocker for you. Even the most uncredible, even a blatantly non-credible source can report something credibly. Even Fox News could accurately report something. If you send me a Fox News article as proof, I'm not going to say, ha, Fox, even though they've actually been massively sued for lying, and CNN, MSNBC, none of them have. I'm going to look at the article, find the claim, and then provide counter evidence as to why it's wrong. This is how you disprove something. This is an art that MAGA has lost. Not just, oh, is that CNN? Fake news. I'll never trust them. They're liars. And that's just how you tell me you're brainwashed and in a cult without saying it out loud, frankly.